الرحمن الرحيم إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد ما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره والدار العظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praises are due to the Almighty Allah, the Lord of the universe, the most compassionate, the most merciful, the sovereign of the day of judgment. You alone we worship, and from you alone we implore help. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those who have incurred your wrath, know of those who have gone astray. O Allah, maintain your prayers persistent upon our chief and master Muhammad, the key to that which is closed, the seal to that which is past, the upholder of the truth by the means of truth, the proper guide to your straight path, and upon his family according to his eminence and his great honor. Assalamu alaikum once again. Good I am back on my series of lectures on the topic, the evolution and development of the Caliphate in Islam or across the history. If you can remember, in the last session, we were discussing the evolution and development of nations and how one nation rose after the fall of another and how nations took over after one another. The Almighty Allah said in the chapter Surah Al-An'am, A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim, وَهُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَكُمْ خَلَائِفَ الْأَرْضِ وَرَفَعَ بَعْضَكُمْ فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ دَرَجَاتٍ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ فِيمَا آتَاكُمْ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ سَرِيعُ الْعِقَابِ وَإِنَّهُ لَغَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Who made you nations that came to take over after one another? That is, you become vicegerent of one another. You take vicegerency after one another. One nation will take over the stage after the disappearance of another. And we did present the serial evolution and destruction of nations starting from the time of Adam up to the time of Prophet Noah, Prophet Hud, Prophet Saleh, and so on. But what we need to understand here is the institution of Caliphate, how it all started. And I did mention in the last session how the Almighty Allah promised the kingdom of angels that he will create Adam and appoint him vicegerent. And he did. And he examined them. He prepared an examination for the kingdom of angels. He asked them questions, and they failed to answer such questions. And the same questions were presented to Adam, and he answered them properly because he was taught the names and nature of everything, which represented the questions that he was asked. For the angels, they were never taught such things. When they were asked and they couldn't answer, then Adam was elevated as a result over them because he was asked to teach them as their tutor. He was elevated above them. And they were asked to fall down in prostration to him, and that marked the respect that they were asked to give to him as their teacher. That is why human race is the most elevated race, is the most elevated creature ever. Why? Because they descended from the teacher of angels. Their ancestral father taught the kingdom of angels what they didn't know. Can you imagine? And that is why Adam, as the first mortal being that was appointed the representative of the Almighty here on the surface of the earth as vicegerent of the Almighty Allah, he passed down the mantle of this caliphate to his son Prophet Shiz. Shiz in his turn passed it down up to the time of his grandchild Idris or Enoch. Enoch in his turn passed it down to Prophet Noah. And how did they exercise all this? How did they exercise all this power? They did that they did that by conveying the divine message, by serving as the bridge between the divinity and humanity, between the Almighty and his creatures. They receive messages from the Almighty and they convey them to the creatures, to the human beings in the first place. And that is the essence of the Caliphate here. That is the essence of the vicegerency that they exercised. And that was the essence of the mandate they were given. That was the essence of the mandate they were conferred with. Prophet Adam was the intermediary between the Almighty and the children of Adam. He received from the Almighty and will teach his children. And so was the case with Prophet Shiz, Prophet Enoch, down to Prophet Noah. As for Prophet Noah, he was the first ever to engage idol-worshipping society. He was the first prophet that was ever sent. He was the first ever to be sent to the idolaters. That is why he found it very difficult to convince them to abandon idol worshipping and embrace Islamic monotheism. He kept preaching for them for a period of 1,000 years, less 50. He used all the textual and logical means to convince them, while they look at the situation from the angle of his mortality, because they emphasize on the fact that how would he, as a mortal, how would he be appointed a divine envoy? How would the Almighty choose a mortal to send to fellow mortals to guide them instead of sending an angel? وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَأَنزَلَ مَلَائِكَةً مَا سَمِعْنَا بِهَذَا فِي آبَائِنَا الْأَوَّلِينَ. If the Almighty so wished, he would have dispatched an angel or a group of angels. We have never heard of a situation where a mortal served as an intermediary between humanity and between the humanity and the divinity. And this happened to be the common argument of the idol worshippers across the history of humanity. Not only the unbelievers of Prophet Noah, all the subsequent unbelievers used the same argument against their prophets. And the prophet kept bearing with them, and he did not despair. He kept preaching, and they kept passing down the legacy of idolatry to their subsequent generations. Each generation will warn the later generation not to accept the message of Prophet Noah. وَقَالُوا لَا تَذَرُنَّ آلِهَتَكُمْ وَلَا تَذَرُنَّ وُدًّا وَلَا سُوَاعًا وَلَا يَغُوثَ وَيَعُوقَ وَنَسْرًا وَقَدْ أَضَلُّوا كَثِيرًا, said the Almighty. They kept emphasizing this to their children, that don't ever forsake your idols. لا تذرن آلهتكم. Specifically, لا تذرن ودا, and they specified 5 out of the remaining idols. لا تذرن ودا, don't ever forsake wood. ولا سواعا or suwa, ولا يغوث, يعوق, ونسرا. These represented the names of the big idols. And the Almighty Allah said, by so doing, they misled quite many. many nations. By so doing, they misled a lot of people. And وَقَدْ أَضَلُّوا كَثِيرًا. So then when the divine promise came to pass with regard to their destruction, the Almighty Allah sent an inspiration to Prophet Noah, telling him that وَأُوحِيَ إِلَى نُوحٍ أَنَّهُ لَن يُؤْمِنَ مِنْ قَوْمِكَ إِلَّا مَنْ قَدْ آمَنَ. Therefore, فَلَا تَبْتَئِسْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Oh no, an inspiration was sent down to Prophet Noah saying, none of your people will convert ever again. None of your people will convert to Islam ever again. Therefore, فَلَا تَبْتَئِسْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَفْعَلُونَ. Don't get grieved by what they are doing. وَاصْنَعِ الْفُلْكَ بِأَعْيُنِنَا وَوَحْيِنَا. So when a divine message was so clear to tell him that there will be no further conversion by his people, meaning there is no point for continuing preaching to them. There is no point for him to continue preaching to a people that was said that they will never believe again. So what would he do? The Almighty Allah said, وَاصْنَعِ الْفُلْكَ. Go and construct an ark, a ship. بِأَعْيُنِنَا وَوَحْيِنَا. Under our supervision and our direction. وَلَا تُخَاطِبْنِي فِي الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا إِنَّهُمْ مُغْرَقُونَ. Don't intercede with me. Don't speak with me on behalf of those who disbelieve, for they are going to be utterly destroyed and drowned in the flood. Mughraqun. They are going to be drowned. And he did exactly as he was bidden by God. He started constructing the ark. وَيَصْنَعُ الْفُلْكَ. As he was busy in his construction, they came to pass, whenever they came to pass by him, وَكُلَّمَا مَرَّ عَلَيْهِ مَلَأٌ مِنْ قَوْمِهِ سَخِرُوا مِنْهُ. Whenever a group of people, that is the elite society of his people, whenever they come to pass by him, they mock him. سَخِرُوا مِنْهُ. Saying, a prophet turned a carpenter. Sakhirumin. So that means that you know that now you have no business preaching to us, and preaching to us, it has proven to be a futility. It's a futility for you to continue preaching to us. You yourself understood that. Thank God you did. And now you developed a job for yourself. That is, you turn into a carpenter. It's good for you. Mocking him. Then he said, قَالَ إِن تَسْخَرُوا مِنَّا فَإِنَّا نَسْخَرُ مِنْكُمْ كَمَا تَسْخَرُونَ. Well, you are free to continue mocking me. But bear in mind that as you are mocking us today, a day will come when we will mock you back in a manner that it will pain you the most. فَإِنَّا نَسْخَرُ مِنْكُمْ كَمَا تَسْخَرُونَ فَسَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ مَنْ يَأْتِيهِ عَذَابٌ يُخْزِيهِ وَيَحِلُّ عَلَيْهِ عَذَابٌ مُقِيمٌ. And that day you will come to understand when it is too late. You will come to know when the knowledge will never avail you in any way. مَنْ يَأْتِيهِ عَذَابٌ يُخْزِيهِ. Who is going to be visited by the divine chastisement? A humiliating chastisement, a humiliating punishment, عذاب يخزيه, a punishment that will humiliate him. ويحل عليه عذاب مقيم, then a permanent or an everlasting punishment will befall him. And the Almighty said, Hatta iza ja amruna, when our command came to pass, our promise to destroy his people came to pass, what happened? You know, that is exactly the situation whenever the people of any prophet disbelieve in him, then there will come a judgment between him and his people, and that judgment translates into the destruction of his people so as to vindicate him and to prove him right that the message he conveyed to them was true. When the flood started gushing to the surface of the earth, then we ordered him to carry in his ark of any species. Let him pick a couple of every species. A couple of every species. And then the members of your family. Except, of course, for those whose the divine word has already been pronounced against. That is, those who are destined to be unbelievers shouldn't be part of your family that will be conveyed in that ark. وَيَحِلُّ عَلَيْهِ عَذَابٌ وَأَهْلَكَ إِلَّا مَنْ سَبَقَ عَلَيْهِ الْقَوْلُ وَمَنْ آمَنَ. Then, of course, those who believe in you, even if they constitute no part of your family, they too should be carried in that ark. وَمَنْ آمَنَ. You see, you can categorize the passengers of the ark of Prophet Noah into three. First and foremost, pick of every species a single couple, a male and female. وَأَهَلَكَ, the members of your family, except, of course, those against whom the word of punishment is pronounced or the punishment is ordained. وَمَنْ آمَنَ, there is a preordination of the divine punishment on them. Then nothing can change that. And there is virtually no way they can be delivered from the punishment. وَمَنْ آمَنَ, and of course those who believe. Unfortunately, then وَمَنْ آمَنَ, of course, are not members of his family, but they are the believers. The Almighty Allah said, alas, وَمَا آمَنَ مَعُ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. There was very, very few people who believe in him. Very few. Out of so many people that he preached to for a long period of time, the turnout was no more than 80. That is the largest estimation given by scholars of Tafsir. Al-Qalil, they said 40 men and 40 women. And there were those who suggested a smaller number than this. Others said 40, 20 men, 20 women, and so on. Then وَقَالَ ارْكَبُوا فِيهَا بِسْمِ اللَّهِ مُجْرَاهَا وَمُرْسِيهَا. The Almighty Allah instructed Noah on how to start the journey, how to start sailing on the flood. You know, the ark or the ship can only sail. That is how it can move on the flood. Bismillahi mujraha wa mursaha. It is by the name of Allah, mujraha. The take-off of this ark is by the name of Allah, and so it is sailing. Wa mursaha, and its halt also would be by the same divine name, mursaha. That's where the ark will be halted and stopped. Inna Rabbi Langafur Rahim. My Lord, I swear by his name, my Lord is full of forgiveness and mercy. Is the most forgiving and the most merciful Lord. وَهِيَ تَجْرِي بِهِمْ فِي مَوْجٍ كَالْجِبَالِ. Then as the ark started sailing in the waves of water, the waves of the flood, the waves were so strong and big as mountains. Kaljibal. It was in the midst of the movement of the ship that Prophet Noah observed his son, his unbelieving son. He saw him about to be drawn, and he called him out. وَنَادَى نُوحٌ ابْنَهُ وَكَانَ فِي مَعْزِلٍ يَا بُنَيَّ ارْكَبْ مَعَنَا. Oh my son, come and embark on the ark, come and embark on the ship along with us. ارْكَبْ مَعَنَا وَلَا تَكُنْ مَعَ الْكَافِرِينَ. Don't make an irreparable mistake of being along with the unbelievers. Not only would you end up being destroyed, you will end up in the hellfire. وَلَا تَكُنْ مَعَ الْكَافِرِينَ. Today, that boy will commit the most expensive disobedience ever. He had been disobedient to his father. But today is the day that you will commit the most expensive one. Because if you were obedient to the father, of course, earlier than that, of course, you wouldn't have disobeyed that command. You would have complied and embarked on the ark. That means obedience constitutes a serial events or series of events that will eventually consume you as disobedient servant. You keep disobeying, perhaps ignoring the consequence of what you are doing. You don't know that this will constitute a long series of events that will end up at a point when you will commit the most expensive disobedience. That was exactly what happened to the child of Noah. And he eventually got drawn in the flood. So, as usual, he disobeyed the father as he used to. Sa'awi ila jabalin yasimuni min al-ma. Let me take refuge to that mountain, and that mountain will save me from the water, from the flood. The father responded, full of sympathy. La asima al-yawma min amrillah illa man rahim. Oh my dear son, today none can save you from the punishment of the Almighty Allah, except for those who are shown mercy by the Almighty Himself. Illa man rahim. As he was arguing, as Prophet Noah was engaging him, trying to convince him, وَحَالَ بَيْنَهُمَ الْمَوْجُ. A strong wave came to debar between Noah and his son. فَكَانَ مِنَ الْمُغْرَقِينَ. And he ended up being drawn along with the unbelievers. Then, when they eventually got drawn, that is the unbelievers, the Almighty Allah said in the chapter titled No, مِمَّا خَذِئَاتِهِمْ أُغْرِقُوا فَأُدْخِلُوا نَارًا. It is by the gravity of their atrocities that they were drawn. It is by what they have done, that is what caused them to be drowned in the flood and eventually taken to hellfire, was the gravity of the atrocities they committed. And no more. مِمَّا خَذِئَاتِهِمْ أُغْرِقُوا فَأُدْخِلُوا نَارًا وَلَمْ يَجِدُوا لَهُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنصَارًا. And they couldn't find anyone that can provide help. There was no one around to provide help, to help them out, to save them. There was none. لا عاصم اليوم من أمر الله إلا من رحم. Therefore, فلم يجدوا لهم من دون أنصارا. فلم يجدوا لهم من دون الله أنصارا. لا عاصم من أمر الله إلا من رحم. وقال له ربي لا تذر على الأرض من الكافرين ديارا إنك إن تذر يضل عبادك ولا يلد إلا فاجرا كفارا. What caused this utter destruction, which was unprecedented in the history of humanity? Up to that moment, humanity had never witnessed a destruction of the largest proportion like that consumed the entire globe. Why? Because